I'd like to call the Delaware County Commissioners meeting to order. It's Monday, February 5th, 2018. Time is 9 o'clock. If everybody could stand for the pledge. Mr. Fleming, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Steve, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Here.
Ms. Reagan.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Rapp.
Here. First, we'll move to appointments. We have appointments to the Delaware County Community Corrections. Been asked for Ken Mays and Jeff Hansard to be appointed to that board.
I'll make a motion we appoint those individuals.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have one for the Visitors Bureau, Jody Clevenger.
I'll make a motion we appoint Jody Clevenger to the Visitors Bureau.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. We do have Yorktown Public Library Board, but we don't have anyone for that. I'd just like to table that one for now.
So moved.
Second.
Have a second and motion to table. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. We have two items that's tabled, the opioid litigation agreement and the Medicaid for inmates agreement. I believe John is still working on that. That is correct. We'll go ahead and keep those tabled, and we'll just move on to approval of minutes. We have January 16, 2018 minutes. We also have January 17th and the 23rd of 2018. Both of those are executive session minutes.
I move we approve all three together.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second, approval of the minutes. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we'll move down to presentations to the commissioners. Mr. Nate Jones, Delaware County VA.
Nate Jones, Delaware County Veterans Affairs. Before we get started with our presentation, I actually have a veteran that we helped assist this last year that would like to give his testimony with some of the things we've been doing here in our office. So, Mike, would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today about Delaware County Veterans Services. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael Myers. That really is my name. I'm an Army veteran where I served 10 years as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division. I worked in air defense, was a jump master, and in 10 years I achieved the rank of staff sergeant. Landed in parachutes back in the 70s was a lot like jumping off a roof, so over the course of those 10 years I received my fair share of broken bones and injuries. I've injured both legs, my back, my neck, both elbows, and my most serious injury to my left shoulder. Doctors back then said these injuries were going to hurt when I got old, and they were right. In fact, the back doctor said they would be a little uncomfortable, which is like telling somebody at the beach that's getting ready to get hit with a 10-foot wave, you're going to experience moisture. For that reason, I've dealt with 4 different veterans offices in 3 states, and I'm here to talk about, hands down, the best I have dealt with, and that is Delaware County Veterans Service Office under the leadership of Nate Jones. I first met Nate Jones not long after he took over as Delaware County Veterans Service Officer. It was just a small office with Nate and Jenny. They had a passion for helping veterans like I had never seen. And the first thing they did had filed a form, was called an intent to file form, so if I was awarded any money, and I was, it would be backdated to that date. Now, I had never even heard of that form before. They helped me in different ways to get the right copies of my medical records, and their wording on my claim was excellent. You notice I keep looking at Jim. I hadn't lived in Delaware County very long, and this was much different than Florida, where I came from. In Florida, I filed my claim. I waited a year. The answer was no. I filed again under a different set of circumstances. I waited a year, and the answer was no. With Nate Jones, we filed, and in 3 months, I was moved from 50% to 70%. I filed again for that same different circumstance, and in 2 months, they moved me from 70% to 100%. And it's funny, a Florida friend of mine called me and asked me if I had any advice on how to get his claim approved. And I told him the best thing I could tell him was to pack his car and move to Muncie, Indiana. So, although the office has transitioned from just Nate and Jenny to Nate and his team of veterans that he's training, the passion is still there. Nate has passed on this passion to his staff. They are a great team of people, and we are lucky to have them. In fact, I have seen Nate and one of his assistants, Ray Wadsby, give up 4 hours of their Saturday to go on the radio answering veteran questions and giving veteran advice. I've seen Nate and his family on a Thursday night attend as guest speaker Road to Redemption, one of Muncie's best addiction services, where Nate was answering veteran questions and giving veteran advice to about 120 people. He did this on his own time and with the support of his family. Nate is a veteran himself, and he has turned the Delaware County Veterans Service Office into a class act. He gives 100%, doing the best he can to help the veterans of this county, veterans like me. Let me finish by saying, if you are a veteran living in Delaware County and you don't know the name Nate Jones, you are missing out on one of the best opportunities this county has to offer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
So basically today what my goal is to try to give you guys a look back at what we did last year in our office. And I'm going to try to be as informal as possible, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to pause me and ask. So first off, obviously I'm the CVSO. Ray joined the board last year, at the beginning of last year, as my assistant CVSO. We brought Ralph Smith up approximately 7 months ago as our educational specialist. And then we also have Charlie Brooks helping out with any type of employment issues that we would have with any of our veterans that come into our office. We have 3 full-time employees, obviously, 1 part-time from Vincennes. We have 10 federal work studies, 1 intern, 1 work assessment, and 2 volunteers. Totaling 120 hours per week from Vincennes, or from county and Vincennes, and 230 per week from just VA work studies and work assessment. So these are guys that are in college that the federal government allows them to join a program to also work for us and try to make a paycheck. Then we also, that's a total of 389 work hours per week, just to give you the total on that. A couple things I want to point out. I'm going to name off all my guys that work in our office. First and foremost, we have Brian Wilson, Josh Brown, Stephen Phillips, Brandon Jefferson, Derek Parker, Les Kimball, Steve Stark, Veronica Hamilton, Devin Hamilton, Bruce Moore, Jason Craig, Dwight Fleming, David Swearingen, and Charlie Brooks. The work study, work assessment, intern, volunteers, a couple of things that we do. It utilizes federal programs to allow the community service-oriented veterans to advocate and help on a day-to-day veterans for their needs. It allows us to improve the standard of living for veterans in Delaware County. Veterans continue to be a part of something bigger than themselves. This allows them to do something other than just go to school and sit at home. A lot of us, if you know our camaraderie, when you get us together, no matter the circumstance, we typically have a good time with what we do. So we enjoy working with one another. It also allows veterans the opportunity to obtain work site skills and to function in a professional setting on a day-to-day basis, which is not something that a lot of these guys have the opportunity to do. So let's talk about performance above and beyond. With the creation of a one-stop shop, we continue to lead the state in support of services for veterans of Delaware County. A few things that we do that we didn't used to do, we do educational assistance, employment assistance, Delaware County Drug Diversion Court, Delaware County Veterans Commission, which was recently created, Delaware County Women's Veterans Group, which is something that we haven't heard of in the past, Veteran Stand Down and Resource Fair. We're trying to take the stand down from a situation where we just hand things out to maybe coach these guys and give them the resources they need to be successful out in the community. We also have set up a homeless veterans SOP, standard operating procedure. We've been fortunate enough to work with some veterans that have been put in some situations to where they might have been homeless, and they've had to go through the whole gamut of figuring that all out. And fortunately, those guys are willing to help us, help other veterans that have that problem. Also, we do a lot of veteran mentoring, and then veteran community outreach, which is a big portion of what my work studies do when they're out and about. I just want to talk about economic impact. In 2017, combined wages for the VA office, work study, the whole nine was $206,000 per year, real dollars that are being made in our office. Projected calendar year of 2018 is roughly about $230,000, so we intend on bringing a couple more guys into our office to try to help with some of these other programs that we've agreed to work with. Last quarter, and I want to touch base on this, I know last year I gave some numbers, and VA then, about halfway through the year, contacted me and told me that the numbers were off of what we originally told you guys last year, and we still have not gotten an update on those. So as soon as we get a chance to get those to you, we will. But we did get our numbers down pat for last quarter of fiscal year 2017. Roughly $3 million was awarded to community, veterans, widows, and dependents right here locally in Delaware County. So on average about $12 million for the year. Projected overall numbers for calendar year 2018 is $13 million plus, just on disability alone. Never mind your pension, your aid and attendance, anything else that we go through. And if you guys know anything about what we do as far as disability and pension, disability is an injury or illness that was sustained in service, whether that be combat, active duty, just during your active duty time. This is the VA or the military's way of being able to take care of the veterans that sacrifice their selves for us. Currently, last year, we had 75 veterans and 55 dependents from Delaware County accepted into the educational program. This is a big one for us, I feel like, is as long as we can continue to educate our veterans and dependents, this allows them the opportunity to go out and be successful members of society. So we're excited that Ralph and them have brought that to our office. Bringing together community resources for veterans in need. We had donations last year in excess of $20,000 for electric wheelchairs and lifts for veterans, of which one of the veterans, or widows I should say, that donated their wheelchairs and lifts to us was Miss Betty Donati, and that was roughly about $8,000 of that $20,000. That's huge to us, and the reason is because a lot of times we have an influx of veterans that come in that need wheelchairs, and there's typically a gap of time to be able to get those wheelchairs to them. So what we like doing is we like loaning them out or renting them out to them, so to speak. That way, while they're waiting on theirs to get to their home, they have something to use in the meantime. Stand down and resource fair. We're bringing employment, day-to-day living needs, opportunity, legal advice, etc. I can say that in the three years that I've worked with the stand down, we always like to see our numbers get lower. But this last year, we noticed that there needed to be a little different vibe thrown into everything. And the reason being is because we felt like maybe we were just giving things away rather than getting people, the opportunity to find their way, but also assist them in other directions. So that's why we want to bring the resource fair along into this, to help them with any type of bills, to help them with any type of rental needs, medical needs, so on and so forth. So hopefully this year that'll be a success, and I believe it will be. We do a lot of outreach to nursing homes, housebound veterans who are unable to transport themselves to the office. Matter of fact, I recall one occasion last year where a gentleman was in a wider wheelchair, and we had to take a few of our guys over to his house and widen his doorway so that he could get in and out of his kitchen. So for our guys to take their time to go and do that is a huge deal. Taking veterans to medical appointments, we don't like to do a bunch of driving. If possible, we try to find them transportation, whether it be through the Red Cross, through the DAV van, so on and so forth. We've had a lot of red tape when it comes to our trying to get a van. We've just had a lot of humps to go over to try to get that done. And currently, right now, we're still working on it. We've got a lot of work yet to do, but we do believe that we can eventually one day get Delaware County their own van. Networking with other veterans organizations to ensure strong working relationships that benefit the veteran. The idea here is just to put people in touch with people of their own likings. A lot of us guys, we feel more comfortable around each other than we do people that we're not in, just because they know what we've been through, what we've done, and some of the things we've experienced. So networking is a huge goal for us. Some of our goals for the upcoming year: we want to obtain some grant money to assist in recovering veterans. Addiction with our veterans honestly is not good, but our goal is to be there to help support and guide them in the right direction, to help in any way that we can. We also continue to work towards finding reliable and hassle-free transportation for veterans, which I touched on. We are in the process of planning a Veterans Day parade. We got Mr. Mike Black from Ball State University that's in charge of doing that. We continue to work with business community leaders to improve the quality of life, services for veterans in Delaware County with an end goal of meaningful employment. Our goal would be this next year to try to get anywhere from 10 to 20 of those guys placed in full-time, gainful employment. Not minimum wage employment, but gainful employment. Build upon economic success, VA education, employment programs, projected at roughly about $14 million. So you heard this year, in the last quarter, we did $3 million this last year, just in the fourth quarter. Our goal overall next year, just with disability compensation, would be $14 million. What that means is we're going out physically touching our veterans that have either been to war, sustained any type of injury or illness while in service, and get them the benefits that they deserve and that have been waiting on for quite some time. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to let you guys know what was going on. And, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the report.
Thanks, Nate, and thanks to all you gentlemen working the GAL. Appreciate you guys.
I'd like to add, the donation of the wheelchair came from Mrs. Moyer's family, and you remember your grandfather's rank, or he was in the Army, or...
Why?
E5.
I'm sorry.
E5, he's sergeant.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
I apologize. I don't know.
Charles Donetti. Yeah, thank you very much for that donation.
We'll move on to Joe Edwards with SRI.
Thank you. Thanks for having me this morning. I'm not as uplifting as that last presentation. Happy to tell you the proud owners of 571 tax lien certificates.
Yeah.
The number's down a little bit. That represents $2.6 million in taxes. And your packet includes a resolution for certificate sale and the contract and the list of the property. We've done these certificate sales here for, I don't know, many years. We've done them online for many years. We did it live last year in this room. And the proposal is to do it live again. I think the auditor's office, treasurer's office believe that was a better way to move these properties to deed. That's the whole goal, is to get these properties back on the tax rolls. You're not really worried about the amount of money you make on the day of the tax sale, because you're not going to make any money that day, you know, toward the $2.6 million that's outstanding from these certificates. I do know the auditor's office and treasurer's office have discussed a minimum bid setting, which is your responsibility to set that, and it was, let's see if I can do this. It's anything under $1,000, the minimum bid's $100, and anything over $1,000, the minimum bid will be 10% of the lien. Is that right, Janet? Okay, got it. So, again, that's their proposal for the minimum bids for the board. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you say we've done these sales annually for a long time. And I think that that's continues to be the best way to handle it, because I do think the numbers go down over time. It doesn't happen, unfortunately, quickly. And 571 seems like a lot, but it's really not. I mean, it's compared to other places.
Do you have a date yet for that?
Well, we're kicking the date around a little bit. The treasurer's pretty involved in collection during the month of April, so we're looking at a date either in late April or maybe skip collection and do it even into, May, mid to late May. But we'll get a date, we'll have a calendar which will get submitted to you, to the board, as well as the treasurer on our website.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That resolution.
It's under a resolution.
Uh,
Next, we'll move on to contracts and agreements for approval. Umball Comprehensive County Financial Plan Agreement.
Commissioners, good morning. Brad Bookout, Delaware County Economic Development and Redevelopment. Umball is not present this morning, but they have provided to you their standard scope of services for the agreement to do the county financial comprehensive plan. I'm happy to answer any questions. This was done 2 years ago, and they recommended an update for you.
Brad, was this sent to John's office?
I'm not aware if it was or not. So.
Joe, do you have a copy of that?
I have a copy now. I have not seen it before, but I can find out from John. I'm going to hold off on it, but it's up to you.
We can wait until the next meeting.
That's fine. Yeah, no problem. I'll let them all know. Thank you.
Just table it until next meeting.
Yeah, I make a motion, we table the Umball Financial Plan Agreement.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to table. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have Fieldware Offender Link Service Agreement, Delaware County Circuit Court. Morning, Emma.
Morning. So you have 4 contracts in front of you. County Council approved in our budget last year to do a pilot program for the courts, and our spiel to the County Council, I'm sorry, Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. I always forget to do that. We were going to do a text reminder to defendants in our 2 courts, Circuit Court 2 and 40 Court. So we started collecting phone numbers, went to call the vendor, and they're out of business. So then we called Hamilton County, who's been doing this for quite a while, and they told us that they're going with Fieldware, which is not a text, but it's an actual phone call, because they said that texting you have to have on file, that you have to have permission that you can text them. So we're going to go with phone calls. We're going to do a pilot program out of Circuit 2 and 4D Court until the money runs out, just to see if it helps with our failure to appears, which will in turn help with the jail overcrowding, hopefully. So this is 2 separate contracts, one for Circuit Court 2, well, for the main courts, and one for 40 Court, because there's separate monies coming out of 40 Court with incentive funds. We just need you to sign it, because I am not allowed to sign contracts.
So we could actually lump all 4 together.
There, yeah, so it looks like the first 2 are one agreement, and then the single page is an amendment. And then the second 2 are the exact same thing, it's just for the other court. So it's the same thing for both, yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve both the agreements and both the amendments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the extension agreement for the union contracts.
this is just, you guys may already know, this is just going to extend the agreement with EMS, or like 911 center to March 2nd. It's not a very long extension, but with negotiations ongoing, it's necessary.
I'll make a motion, we approve the union extension agreement.
Second.
A motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we'll move to ordinances for first reading. Ordinance number 2018-001, being an ordinance to amend the tax of the subdivision ordinance of Delaware County, Indiana regarding procedures for minor plats notice and minor transfers of property. Morning, Marta.
Morning. Marta Moody, Delaware Muncie Metropolitan Plan Commission. And this is a continuation of a public hearing that began with the Plan Commission in January, which is a similar process to what we use for rezonings. So, and I guess I'm saying that because should the commissioners want to, the Plan Commission public hearing is like the first reading, and then this would be like the second reading. It's a continuation of the same public hearing process. This involves some procedural changes to the county subdivision ordinance to add some language that we have in the City of Muncie subdivision ordinance that allows for the transfer of property between property owners to occur without having it be considered a subdivision where they have to go through the whole platting process. It also allows provision dealing with minor plats, which is 4 lots or fewer, with no public infrastructure added. And then by putting this in place, the plat committee then can handle like a 1-lot plat rather than have to go through a whole public hearing process with the Plan Commission and then the plat committee. So it's just some streamlining of procedures for
Help
this.
speed up the
Yeah,
procedure.
splitting of minor property transfers. And the Plan Commission favorably recommended it unanimously.
I move we adopt ordinance 2018-001.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second for adoption. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have ordinance number 2018-002, ordinance for juvenile court, family recovery court.
It's me again.
Emily.
Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. Juvenile Court received a grant from the state and some money from federal to do a family court project out at Juvenile Court. I am not apprised of exactly what they're doing with this. I'm just here to get the monies approved so that we can start funding this program and get this moving. They received this grant back in the fall, and I'm trying to get the fund established in order for them to start get the training that they need to get going on it. And I gave you a did you all get a copy of the
And
grant?
the letter, $13,117.
I'll make a motion, we introduce ordinance 2018-002.
Second.
Motion and a second to introduce. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
You need it right now?
And
is
then
that
can
correct?
we suspend the rules, please, so we can get that going?
I'll make a motion, we suspend the rules.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Steve, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2018-002.
Second.
Have a motion for adoption and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have resolution number 2018-006, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the County of Delaware, Indiana, identifying parcels to be offered for sale to adjacent property owners. Morning, Janet.
Good morning, Commissioners. Janet Kessler, Tax Sale Deputy in the Auditor's Office. This is just one parcel that was left off our original list. We do have an interested party in it, so your approval would be appreciated.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2018-006.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have resolution number 2018-007, resolution establishing the intent to conduct a commissioner's sale to sell tax sale certificates for properties that are severely delinquent in payments of property tax.
Yes, Commissioners, this is a formal request from you to do the Commissioner's certificate sale. I did attach all the delinquent properties.
I'll make a motion we adopt resolution 2018-007.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Commissioners, at this time, do you want to discuss the minimum bids, or can we have your approval or disapproval?
I like the 10%.
Yeah.
Anything under $1,000 is $100, and anything above $1,000 is 10%.
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
You make a motion on that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion on that.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thanks for your work on that.
Thank you. Next is a monthly report from Weights and Measures. Everybody receive that?
Yeah.
And we have payment of claims in the amount of $1,037,566.10.
I'll make a motion we pay the claims.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Do we have any department heads or elected officials that have anything they want to speak on? If not, we'll move on. Questions and comments from the public?
Hello, Commissioners, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity and the open forum part of the meeting. Appreciate that. I'm Dave Ring. I live at 12660 East Eaton Albany Pike, near Albany. On the downtown farm stand, and full disclosure, I'm running for State Senate District 26, but I'm here as a concerned citizen. Here to speak on behalf of the citizens of the Eaton, Wheeling, rural area of the county. Talk about the proposed confined animal feeding operation around 1270 North. I know 2 of the 3 county commissioners, you're involved in law enforcement, and I'd like to thank you for that commitment. And that's a career that we value and appreciate your sacrifice. And in that career, you put your lives on the line, and protection of the people, enforcement of the law, and public safety. And as commissioners now, you know your job's to get ahead of potential problems in your community. And of course, one of the responsibilities is to lead and to help ensure the success of future generations in Delaware County. We have a basic human and constitutional rights at stake here with this issue. We have principles that hang in the balance, define who we are as a community. Lobbyists and large multinational corporations and special interest money are consistently taking over land in our county, engaging in agricultural practices that are damaging to the environment, public health, property values, the right to property. Our infrastructure, roads, bridges, ability for future generations to even inhabit parts of our rural landscape are at stake. Everyone in our economic development these days talks about quality of life, quality of place, to maintain population, because population in our area consistently goes down. We can have neither quality of life or quality of place if we don't act and stop the influx of confined animal feeding operations, which involves outside controls over our farmland and rural landscape. This issue is about fundamentally local control. And you have the ability and you have the authority to place moratoriums or even an outright ban on any future confined animal feeding operations. Because these are the lowest or most undesirable forms of agriculture that no one wants to live near at all. That only contribute to further population decline, decimation of the environment, the brain drain problem, and decreased quality of life and quality of place. We should, as a community, be trying to take advantage of more neighbor-friendly forms of agriculture, so that we're not just against something, we're also, in favor of organic and sustainable agriculture, which is the fastest growing segment of agriculture in the country, which we're behind in Indiana. But as an example, Bartholomew County and Randolph County, and I believe I've heard recently Blackford, but I'd have to confirm that, both enacted long-term moratoriums. Delaware County is not a sparsely populated county like some of these are, and we can and should absolutely enact a moratorium with no end date based on the status of our higher population levels compared to other counties in Indiana. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks for coming and sharing your concerns. And we are disappointed that the state kind of runs this. James, you have.
Yeah, I believe that our attorneys told us that we possibly won't even see this even come across in front of us because it's more or less the state.
Yeah, and the way the landscape is now, IDEM's job is pretty much to help approval of these projects. So there's not really but they have not taken away our ability to have local controls. There's been bills to try and do so, but counties still have the ability to regulate and control. While it won't come across your desk, you guys can enact a moratorium, which would prevent this. And there is this is a huge industry, and so as one comes in, gets established, it won't be the only one. So, especially as other counties are enacting these moratoriums, that would make us vulnerable for more. So.
Did Marta leave?
No, I'm still here.
Marta's back here.
Marta, you want to come up? Because wouldn't this start with the Plan Commission discussing this, and then we would, their recommendations?
Marta Moody, Plan Commission, and yes, typically when you're dealing with home or local requirements, it is through the zoning ordinance that is done, and we do have a meeting set up that Shannon asked for, what Mr. Henry asked for, that we are going to look into what requirements, if any, maybe we should consider for Delaware County. And the gentleman's right, we're an urban county,
Right.
basically, and there are one of the main tools that's used are setbacks from residences, setbacks from incorporated areas, setbacks from other types of uses that are considered at risk. And so those would be some of the typical requirements that could be put into place. We're going to be looking into that, pursuing that. I've already collected a whole bunch of information for us to start looking at. So yeah, that is something that we will be working on. The issue of a moratorium is not our purview, so that would be something that you might want to talk to John about. Usually a moratorium would be in a short term of time while you are addressing an issue. You can't just have an open-ended moratorium. So.
There is precedence for that.
Right.
But an outright ban is also possible by the commissioners. I think one thing you're going to hear from legal is that, it can leave the county open to potential lawsuits from the lobbyists, Farm Bureau and others.
And we have been having discussions with our attorney over this.
Yeah. But I think it's, as a right of the people, if it puts us at a potential for lawsuit, there's still an integrity to this that we have to maintain and do what's right. So, but we appreciate the consideration, and if there's anything we can do to bring you more information, or there's a lot of concerned citizens. They're at the IDEM meeting this morning. They're at that hearing, so but we'd be happy to bring you any more information or assist in any way we can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir?
My comments probably won't be as uplifting as some you've heard already, but
What's your name, sir?
Robert Ray,
Where do you live, sir?
3500 West County Road, 1270 North, right next to this CAFO, or CFO that is trying to get approval. There are approximately 129 homes within 1 mile of the proposed CFO. 3 clusters of homes, parts of Ponderosa Estates, Elizabethtown, and Lake Mohee. Gravel from glaciers left deposits on our bedrock, and the average well depth is 30 to 70 feet, and it's that aquifer sits right on top of the bedrock, and it's very shallow and vulnerable to farm pollution. As farmers and rural residents, we believe we have the right to clean air. Ammonia levels from these 4 football field-sized buildings will definitely be above recommended EPA levels. Safe drinking water. The EPA knows CFOs eventually leak. I've had references to these comments. They expect local government will monitor and correct the problems. I'd like to know how you will be monitoring this. To have sustainable farms around us that will keep the soil productive. Rolling hills, gullies, high erosion rates requiring careful monitoring and management. There is very strong opposition to the industrialized farming in this area to our property values. Studies have found 129 homes will lose from 50 to 90% of their value. Property values. Close homes will be unsellable, which we are probably one of the closest to this site. To keep a quality of life and health that is safe and enduring. The Light Farms, of which includes Red Light, who is applying, have been responsible for many county and state violations, including failure to apply for approval before removing wetlands, ponds, building a structure, changing waterways by diverting field drainage into neighboring properties, and directing drainage into neighboring ponds. Their pattern of neighborhood nuisance behavior includes removing fencing from our property adjoining theirs, removing trees from our property, taking earth-moving equipment onto our property, and creating ditches on our property that drain directly into our pond, all without permission. Other irresponsible behavior includes running their tractor into our front yard. My wife and I both observed this at planting time last spring, without notifying us and making no effort to repair the damage. They pulled off the road into our front yard, crushed 3 drainage pipes that I have in a swale that drains the agricultural runoff on down, and never said they were sorry or that they would fix it or anything.
So did you call the sheriff's department?
No, I didn't, because I figured they would come back and own up to it, but they never did. Also, they also mismanaged about 20 head of cattle, allowing them to stampede through our yard repeatedly and refusing to repair damages to our lawn. You cannot allow this family an opportunity to violate more regulations when they already have a history of non-compliance. They should have to correct their violations before you consider approving any of their projects. You must protect surrounding property owners from habitual offenders. Red Light lives out of the county. Delaware County taxpayers will be responsible for damage to roads. The highway department told me it's $40,000 per mile, and we calculated it was between 4 and 5 miles that they were driving in Delaware County. And the bridge is too weak for the 20-ton loads of feed, hog waste, and hogs going over fragile roads. Our county should be protected from out-of-county businesses. Pollution of soil and water is certain in this area where IDEM study has found soils at level 4. Fragile soil levels, rolling hills, many creeks with sand and gravel lenses are listed as highly erodible and are not capable of containing the millions of gallons of manure that will be generated by the 22,170 hogs that would be annually raised in these 4 buildings. Buildings in the middle of 129 homes within 1 mile. Yet the Light Farms own land directly by many of these homes and plan to dispose of their manure throughout the densely populated area. Numerous studies show that close proximity of people to land used to dispose of the manure cause transmission of pathogens, parasites, resistant bacteria such as MRSA, and infections of infestation of flies. We had lots of people tell us their windows get covered with flies where there's a CFO. Just as in Ohio around Lake St. Mary's, which is so polluted, people are told not even to take a boat ride because of CFO pollution of the water. Jay County land is being bought up and used for both CFOs and manure distribution, resulting in the IDEM report showing the entire Jay County area is polluted, now polluted. Major concerns, the report that China's 5-year plan to feed their people includes buying up corporations' land in the USA to raise hogs for China's consumption. In a PBS report by Judy Woodward, it was disclosed that the Chinese government bank provided the money to buy Smithfield Packing Company, 25% of U.S. pork production, largest pork production company in the world. The investigation also showed legislators received payoffs, Nebraska, for example, to change laws which had protected local, smaller farmers, putting them out of business. Red light will be provided. Piglets from North Carolina, and someone else will sell them, possibly from out of the country. Stop him now.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is, good morning Commissioners, my name is Doug Short. I currently live at 2409 West Purdue Avenue here in Muncie, but I had resided on County Road 100 West, which is a family farm, just almost 0.7 miles from where this CAFO is wanting to go in. I would like to voice my concerns about the CFO zoning. Our community is very concerned about our county roads, culverts, and bridges not being suitable to support the increased traffic and weight limits from the CFO operations. Our local residents experience flooding issues, and we are concerned about drainage tiles and the many other negative effects from CFOs. We are also concerned about the economical negative impact the CFOs have on our community. We request that no local permits be issued until we meet with the planning commissioners. We would like to present you with a packet. Our steering committee, who is in Indianapolis right now, there's 10 members presenting to IDEM. We want a moratorium, stronger zoning laws, and an outright ban on new CFOs and permits. Thank you for your consideration. And Mr. Henry, may I give you a packet that is a packet that is being presented to IDEM and could be shared with the other commissioners and also with Marta Moody.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Travis Graves, 1200 West Riverside Avenue. I also have just a few sentiments.
Travis, is the light on?
Yes. A blue
You'll have to
light.
I had to
speak
speak up
louder.
a little bit.
A blue light's on. Should I press this button?
No, just as long as the blue light's on, you're fine. Just speak up a little bit
Okay.
louder.
Concerning the CAFOs, I'm 26 years old. I've moved to Muncie, and I want to just express my concerns that this is not what I want for this community. We've heard from other people that this is an urban setting. This is an urban county. This has no place in our county whatsoever. I've heard from other concerned citizens about their livelihoods being at stake. I don't live anywhere near this place, and I won't, but I'm concerned about the environment and for our future as a community. In this day and age where the EPA is being attacked and stripped, I think as a local communities, we have to do everything we can to stand up for what is right. Industry is having a heyday right now, but that doesn't think about me and my generation, or the generation after me, or even the people that may propose that this is for jobs. Nobody wants to work with pigs. This is not gainful employment. This is not a quality of life job that anybody wants to have. What kind of message do you send your community members when you say it brings jobs, when you're saying go work with pigs? We deserve better than that. And I think you had made some comments like this isn't somewhat out of your control, but I think you have the responsibility to do everything within your power to stop this. And if that puts you at a risk for a lawsuit, it's worth the lawsuit, and you will have the community's support. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jim Harker. I live at 12605 North Chestnut Street, Eaton, Indiana. I'm just a couple of miles away from the proposed site. I'm actually best friends with the neighbor that's right next door to the site. Living just out in the Scheidler area is where I live, so I've dealt with this quite a bit already a few years back. Everything that's been said here today about the urban area that we're talking about, nobody's trying to stop farming. Nobody's trying to stop you from having a farm. This is not farming. CAFOs are industry. This is a massive operation. They should not be held to the same standards that a normal farm is. There needs to be a moratorium in place that would protect the constituents from this type of thing to just keep coming, because it came at Scheidler, now it's coming here. If we allow this one, it's going to be just like Jay County. When you let one move in, they're going to realize this is a soft area to hit, so they'll all try to come here. We don't want that for Delaware County. It's a horrible, economically, it's horrible for our economy here in Delaware County. Not to mention the ramifications of the water pollution, the road erosion. Our infrastructure is not even set up for it out there. There would need to be a huge amount of infrastructure put in place just to handle the trucks, just to handle that. So I would ask that you would either move forward to put a total ban on CAFOs in this county because of the urban and economic ramifications, or a moratorium that would allow the time to do the due diligence involved with making sure that we're not destroying this county. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Rick Yenser, 3100 North, County Road 500 West. Came to talk about 2018 and the need for more early voting sites in this community. You might recall a couple weeks with the Ways and Means Committee down in Indianapolis in the process of the Republican lawmakers taking our schools away. They said, we don't vote, we don't participate. And I didn't know, I heard last fall about this project in Ag, but it's amazing to me that we've had no real openness about what's going on. And I agree, the state controls big ag like this. And as a member of the Farm Bureau, I'll remind everybody, don't bite the hand that feeds you, because agriculture has changed radically. But in the meantime, I would ask the local government, which you do have control over, to set up a couple early voting sites outside the county building. And tell the people too, because I'm getting tired of hearing from people that we don't vote and we don't participate. And that's how things like this happen when we don't even know what's coming into our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? No, I'll entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second. A motion and second to recess. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Recess.